dead man's auction, held on behalf of our late shipmate Tommy Pope. Cruelly drowned.
Cruelly ate by sharks, you mean?
Swept into the sea whilst carrying out the lawful commands of the deck officer.
Get on with it, Jessup!
Painting over the side on an insecure staging, at constant risk to life and limb, and for what purpose? To smarten up the owner's pretty ship.
Jessup!
I now call upon all hands to give of their charity to these few poor effects, in remembrance of their late comrade. The proceeds to go to his sorrowing widow and 3 orphan children. First item, 1 woolen cap. Kept for Sunday best. Will keep any head snug and warm through the rigours of an Irishman's summer. A wild Cape Horner, or a draughty horse Garrett. Now, what do I bid? 6pence, 9pence, 1 silver shilling. I have 2 shillings, 2 and 6pence. Any advance on 2 and 6pence, and $1/2. 1 alderman. Is that all I bid for this fine example of the craft of knitting and splicing?
3 bob.
3 shillings. I have 3 shillings. 3 and a joey. 3 and 6. Any advance on 3 and 6? 4 shillings. I have 4 shillings. Come on now. Come on now, bid generously and bid often. You don't need coins of the realm. The captain will acknowledge a chit and generously deduct it from your pay at the end of the voyage. Come on now, 4 shillings and a half.
$1.
1 whole cartwheel. Going once. Going twice.
£5. £5.
£5. £5 of my money? Are you completely bereft of your senses? A man couldn't earn such a sum if he stayed aboard the entire voyage and spent not a single penny.
It's the least we can do.
The least? And heaven preserve us from your best. £5.
It's a small enough recompense for a woman losing a dear one.
Look, his woman was a slut, and he was the most ham-fisted sailor ever to set foot aboard a ship.
If the man was clumsy, then all the more reason why Mr. Bain should not have put him in a position of grave danger.
Seafaring is a dangerous profession. And no doubt a ship is the most dangerous vehicle ever devised by mind of man. But that doesn't give you the right to foist upon me every seaman's widow and brood of starvelings.
Have you no vestige of charity in your heart, James?
The deserving poor are more than well catered for. What with orphanages and asylums and workhouses, without my being asked to provide a private asylum for distressed seamen's wives. And Pope's wife will not be distressed for long. Not that one, you believe me.
That is not the point.
No, the point is £5 of my money. Will I not pay it? I'm going on deck now. Make sure no more of your pet mendicants take it into their minds to leap over the side.
These new airtights will be all the rage, you mark my words.
But will they buy them at £0.5 a tin?
Look, it's cheaper than butcher's meat. Even a small one will feed a whole family for a week.
Are you sure we can afford all this new stock?
Of course we can.
Provided Emma Callan is as good as her word.
Look, she gave me 1,500 shares of Onedin stock.
But only in return for supporting Fogarty as chairman.
Well, I thought I drove a sharp bargain, even though I do say it I shouldn't.
Well, I only hope James thinks so when he returns.
Look, I'll deal with James when the time comes. Now that I've got a bit of capital behind me, I intend to make something of myself. I shall be a man of substance. And remember, you and our boy come first. As for that brother of mine, let him stew in his own juice.
I got a mouth like the inside of a devil's boots. I'm choking for a drink.
Heads down with your prayer boots and your mouth shut.
My knees are bleeding.
And you'll have aid to match if you don't stow your gab.
Will we be getting any shore leave at Charlotte, Emily?
You to get drunk and disease, maybe? And there be no bumboats alongside neither, trading for thieves' ship stores?
He's gone holy stone crazy, that fella is. Holy stone crazy.
Couple of coats of China oil and those decks will be as good as new. I like a clean ship, Mr. Bain.
Aye, sir. Bosun, wash down, wipe down, and oil down.
Made good time, Mr. Baines. We'll discharge our coal iron rails at St. Thomas. Wash the hold out. Take on sugar, rum, coffee. Good profit there, Mr. Baines, good profit. If we're going to build that steamship to Albert Fraser's design, I must scrape together every penny that I can get. I must buy every Onedin Line share that I can lay my hands on. So fast passage, Mr. Baines. Time is money.
I'll give you the fastest passage you've ever known, sir.
Your wife, Mr. Jessup.
Done on our 10th wedding anniversary. Speak in likeness while you wait.
I thought I recognized her. We met in my brother-in-law's shop, as I remember.
Now that the Onedin stopped our credit, as I remember.
She must have been quite beautiful.
Yes, she was. Then. The poor age quickly, missus.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're not, ma'am. Oh, you have a kind and generous nature, no doubt, and common enough amongst your class and urge to charity when the conscience pricks. £5. Well, I'll make sure Popey's widow gets it. Thank you, ma'am. But you remember, if you give a poor man a loaf of bread, he's still the same poor man the next day. And we prefer to buy our own bread.
Very commendable, Mr. Jessup.
But when a tuppenny loaf costs threepence, where do we get the other penny from, eh? From the bounty of the owners? Or from the charity of your heart?
My husband is a hard man, but he is also a fair and just one.
But not notably a generous one. We want that extra penny, Mrs. Onedin. And this time, we intend to get it.
More shopping?
We've been invited to a dinner party. I must look my best.
Have little time for social engagements.
You've little time for anything but your precious steamship.
She must be designed according to my concepts, not those of Daniel Fogarty.
But how long will it take? You seem to have been months and months.
Until James's return. Then he can deal with the new chairman. And with your brother Robert. He has much to answer for. He betrayed us for a few miserable shares.
In return for voting Daniel Fogarty for chairman.
Judas. Wouldn't care to be in Robert's shoes when James returns.
Oh, forget it. Let James and Daniel Fogarty fight their own battles.
It's my battle as well. Unless James regains control of the company, I'll be forced to design the hybrid that Fogarty insists upon.
What does it matter whether it's built with masts and sails or not?
It matters very much to me.
Yes, of course, I'm sorry. Albert, this dinner party.
Who's giving it?
Emma Callum, no less. They say she lives in great style with liveried servants and a house so richly furnished you wouldn't believe. Oh, do say we can go, Albert.
All right. I suppose Daniel Fogarty will be the guest of honor.
He will be there, naturally. I've heard they're betrothed. Robert? Robert, love! Well, we have an invitation from Miss Callan.
Oh, Robert, you are going up in the world.
Ah, well, who else will be there?
I've no idea. But people of miscalent circumstances are to be cultivated. We'll have to dress formally, of course. Now, what shall I wear?
Coconut.
Fresh fish,
Coconut.
palm wine,
Lovely coconut.
fresh fish, palm wine, banana, fish.
Lay off there, lay off! Bosun! One of those thieving bumboats comes alongside, drop a heavy shackle down through its bilges.
Aye, sir.
Cheer off! What are you doing, Fletcher?
Fishing, sir. Watch below, sir.
Delay. Where's my cravat? 4 hours of daylight wasted already.
Are you going ashore?
Oh, somebody must roust out those good-for-nothing lightermen.
I've never been ashore in a Caribbean port.
Well, think yourself lucky. Nothing but flies, mosquitoes, malaria. Half civilized natives, no place for a woman.
There must be shops.
Well, there's a market of sorts. But we've no money to spare on fripperies.
Rain's coming down in bucketfuls.
Ruin his varnish work. Serves him right for not letting them bumboats come alongside.
Aye. Could have had fresh fruit and coconuts instead of shipboard tack day in, day out.
They had boatloads of fresh fish, all alive and kicking.
Oh, I tried my hand at catching a couple of them, but one of them bumboat men cut me line.
Can't blame them, it's their livelihood, isn't it?
This is good rum.
Aye. But forbidden. No spirituous liquors to be brought aboard. It's in black and white in the ship's articles. And you put your marks to it.
Well, if you don't work.
I can't abide these temperance ships. Work you till you drop, and then holy Joeing all day Sundays.
No swearing.
Oh, that's petticoat influence.
Only a crew of swearers from a captain down. A swearing ship is a sociable ship. That's what I hold to.
Swearing is a simpleton's outlet for anger. You save your tempers until we're back home.
And then?
Withdraw our labour. Well, every man. We'll not be alone, I promise you.
Strike?
What other course is there to set?
We can't afford to come out against the owners.
We can't afford not to.
£2.15 a month, and half of that signed away as an allotment for me wife. I'll think myself lucky if I've 3 sovereigns left at the end of this voyage.
Can you think of a better reason for striking, eh? Fair wages and regular hours?
You can't work regular hours at sea. It stands to reason.
Well, why not? The steamship men do. 4 hours on and 4 hours off as regular as clockwork.
Unless you get a bit of a breeze, and then it's all hands out to make sail. Oh,
Hey, look out.
Rum, that'll cost you 3 days' pay, Jessup.
It's my bottle.
Sir.
It's my bottle, Mr. Baines.
Right, Fletcher, 3 days' pay stop for you. And 2 days and a half revisions for the rest of you.
Why don't you just starve us to death? Have done with it, eh?
Insolence and contemptuous behavior, that's another day's pay, Jessup. Any further comments? Right, on deck, every man jack of you. You'll sweat that rum out of you before this day's through. And Fletcher, take a bucket of grease and sluice down the mainmast. From the royal masthead down, and when you finish, report to me. I'll find more work suitable for your talents.
Why won't you allow the traders to come alongside, Mr. Baines? Seems so unfair to the crew.
Those bumboat men would steal everything that wasn't nailed down, ma'am, and the crew are no better. They've no ready money, so the ship's stores will go in exchange for rum and palm wine. In half an hour, they'd be a drunken rebel. I've seen it happen too many times, ma'am. After a long sea voyage, they'd sell their souls for drink. Look out, man! Jessup! On deck! Was that plain carelessness, Jessup?
Sorry, ma'am. The pin slipped from my hand.
You might have killed Mrs. Onedin. Just you take care in future.
Mr. Baines behaved precisely the same as I would have done under the same circumstances. Put paid to the matter there and then.
But to strike the man!
You might have been killed. Mr. Baines struck him on your behalf.
It was an accident.
Accident? Listen, Jessup had no right, nor did his duty require him to carry a belaying pin aloft. Now, look, if Mr. Baines chose to proceed against the man, I'd have no alternative but to put him in irons to await British justice. Then he'd have to try his luck with a British magistrate on a charge of attempted murder.
Murder?
Well, we've only Jessup's word for it that it was an accident.
It was an accident.
Look, you might have been killed. Now, an inquiry's bound to find against the man. I assure you, Jessup would return you small thanks for your justice.
Oh, you have a closed mind.
I have a very clear mind and only one thing in it, to get this boat loaded and homeward bound as quickly as possible.
Money.
Oh, I might remind you, Anne, that the money that you affect to despise brings you the security that you crave.
You can call on me as witness.
Aye, and me.
If that benefit our cause,
We could have him in front of a magistrate.
my target is not the me. My target is the law. The law which obliges us all to suffer injustice. The law which puts absolute authority into the hands of masters and owners like Onedin. We must be united in one aim, and one aim only. To put an end to the conditions of the working seaman. To take action against Bain, it would not advance our cause one word.
There must be 10,000 sailors ashore in Liverpool any one time. How are you going to convince them?
Where one leads, others will follow.
Do you devote yourself entirely to ship design, Mr. Fraser?
Not to the exclusion of all else, and certainly not at this moment, Miss Callan.
Mr. Fraser has quite a talent for taking advantage of the moment.
What a pretty ring. It is an engagement ring, is it not, Miss Callan?
At dear Daniel's insistence. Why, he really is the most importunate fellow imaginable.
Indeed. Then I must have entirely misread Mr. Fogarty's character.
I think you'll discover, Miss Callan, that Mr. Fogarty has quite an acute sense of direction.
Ah, well, he's reached the summit now. Eh, Daniel?
With your help, Robert.
And Miss Callan's generosity, I understand.
Oh, Robert drove a hard bargain. And to insist upon Onedin Line shares in preference to Callan shares shows a great faith in your steamship, Mr. Fraser.
Oh, quite.
So, Miss Steamship is to be redesigned by a committee of sailing shipmen and chandlers? Oh, I think not.
Once and for all, Mr. Fraser, it is the board of directors who decide company policy, not any one man, however talented.
Isn't it somewhat unusual for a minority shareholder to act as chairman? I think you rather overestimate the value of your 10 shares, Fogarty.
The number of
Mr.
shares which
Fraser. I am principal shareholder of the Onedin Line, and Mr. Fogarty has my full support.
Have you ever once set eyes on my plans for the steamship, Miss Callan?
No.
Then perhaps you should.
If the seamen have their way, your plans will remain gathering dust and we'll all go out of business. I think we're heading for a strike. And the sooner the better for my taste. Meet 'em head on and smash 'em is the only way.
But most of our customers are seamen's wives, and all have tick books. Robert, we must put a stop to their credit immediately.
Look, it may never happen, Sarah. It
Oh,
may
but
never.
we'll be the first to feel the effects. The poor merchant always is. Really, the labouring classes simply do not know where their own best interests lie.
Obviously not with Mr. Fogarty.
Steamships are the root cause. Those who've shipped aboard steamers say that food and conditions are better. They're now demanding the same conditions aboard sailing ships.
Then you should lose no time in fitting them with engines. Labouring classes appear to be on the side of progress, after all.
They're also demanding that their wages be doubled to £5 a month. Is that also progress, Mr. Fraser?
I think it downright wicked.
Oh, well, they will have more money to spend.
You see, Mr. Fogarty, your board is already divisive in its opinions.
I know one man whose opinion I can depend on. James Onedin.
did you?
Aye.
Sunday and no flesh meat.
Cracker ash every day. Not enough of that to keep a bird alive.
We starve on Weevily biscuits. But the cabin goes short, I warrant you.
We had the last of the foes today.
Ah, the smell's all over the ship. Enough to drive a man crazy.
Rotten stinky meat thrown over the side, homeward bound on half rations, and no fresh stores took aboard.
What can we do about it?
We can claim our entitlement. And that's 8p a day.
Aye. This should be a most profitable voyage.
At whose expense?
What?
The conditions of employment aboard this ship are a disgrace.
And this voyage is no different from any other. Oh, aye, there is a difference. We got Jessup in the crew.
We dine off roast fowl while the men are on half rations.
Bad meat must be disposed of. You know that as well as I do, Anne. And if those tender feelings of yours are still troubling you, let them do so no longer. From tomorrow on, we shall all be on short commons.
There is growing anger aboard this ship.
Aye, and you know the cause of it as well as I do. Jessup, I tell you, he's a troublemaker. He's a born agitator. It's the last time that he sets foot aboard an Onedin ship.
You take away his livelihood?
No. No, I'll recommend him for a berth aboard a Callan ship, eh?
James. The men have long-standing grievances. Mr. Jessup's only a focal point.
What grievances? When they queued to sign articles of agreement, they knew what they was about. There was no compulsion.
Only the compulsion of unemployment and starvation if they did not sign. What manner of choice is that to offer a man?
Anne, ship's articles was drafted by Act of Parliament, and I must abide by them as much as the crew.
But the penalties are lopsided for as master and owner you sit in judgment of your own case.
And I think the best thing is that you stay at home in future. One sea lawyer aboard ship is more than enough.
James.
No, Anne. Even if I agreed with you, I have to abide by ship's articles.
And make them work for your benefit.
Look, what do you want me to do? Join the crew? Help make us bankrupt? Yes, what is it?
Beg pardon, sir. We're a deputation representing the interests of the forecastle hands, sir.
Is this an official complaint?
Which we require entering into the log and properly and duly witnessed.
I'll overlook your impertinence this time, Jessup. Right, what's your complaint?
Beg pardon, sir, but no impertinence was intended. But Mr. Jessup is official spokesman, and we'll not stand by and see him abused.
Right. Make your complaint and get on with it.
Our provisions have been reduced by 1/2.
So?
So we claim 8p a day as our right as laid down by the Merchant Shipping Act. Section 123, paragraphs 1 and 3, viz. If during the voyage the allowance of provisions is reduced by more than 1/3, the seaman shall be entitled to, and in addition to wages, the sum of 8p a day.
We stand on law.
Do you now? Well, you should have read a little further, a little deeper, Jessup. But if it can be shown that any provisions, the allowance of which has been reduced, could not be procured or supplied in proper quantities, such circumstances shall be taken into consideration. At our last port of call, fresh meat was unobtainable. Does that answer your complaint?
Well, we'll go hungry now. But your turn will come.
No fresh meat obtainable. Is that true, James?
Yes, quite true. Well, fresh meat was obtainable, but not at a price that we could afford.
Your husband should be home soon, Mrs. Jessup.
I wish it had been a much longer voyage.
Oh?
I hoped and prayed that he'd be away at sea while the strike's on.
Well, it hasn't started yet. Perhaps it won't. I'm sure the men will come to their senses. They know which side their bread is buttered.
Butter? When did a merchant seaman or his family last taste butter?
I think you better persuade your husband to join a new ship the moment he docks, Mrs. Jessup.
Now, we'll never have a better opportunity. The port of Liverpool will be packed with ships, cotton, hired and grain from the States. Trade's booming. We must put our demands to the employers while they're still greedy for their profits.
Turn us down flat.
Exactly. So we must put it to a meeting. Submit or strike.
The golden nugget. I'm most impressed, Mr. Fraser.
You see, what is not generally realized, particularly by blinkered sailing ship men, is that the engine is also a source of
You
power
have
for
such
the...
neat hands. Well, that must be the reason. Well, do you know, I couldn't draw a straight line if my life depended on it.
I can appreciate, Miss Callan, that the technical details may be somewhat tedious for you.
Oh, dear. I have said the wrong thing, haven't I? Well, do continue, Mr. Fraser.
Perhaps it would be better if I had to leave my plans with you for you to study at your leisure.
Well, and now you disappoint me. Well, there's little flattery to be garnered when a gentleman informs a lady that his most earnest desire is to put a speedy end to a conversation.
Only that I may continue at a later date.
Do you make such pretty speeches to your wife, sir?
Even prettier, for I've had longer to practice.
Then she is most fortunate of women. But we must concentrate upon the business at hand.
My father has always impressed upon me that I have a poor head for business, and I was...
Then we are evenly matched, sir. For my poor head cannot put two and two together without arriving at the most absurd of totals.
I was hoping to persuade you, Miss Callan, to use your influence over Mr. Fogarty.
To what end, Mr. Fraser?
To put an end to this confounded vendetta that'll bring us all to ruin.
A vendetta?
A private matter.
I find it hard to believe that Mr. Fogarty could possibly abuse a position of trust in furtherance of some petty grudge.
Fogarty is determined to gain control of the Onedin Line for the sole purpose of preventing me building the Golden Nugget.
Well, if Mr. Fogarty is of the opinion that your proposed steam vessel would be better for carrying sail, then he believes it wholeheartedly.
He is wrong.
That may be. But your saying so will not alter his opinion one bit. You must prove it to him.
How?
I do not know, Mr. Fraser. But if you imagine I can dissuade him from his purpose, you overrate my influence.
You may tell Mr. Fogarty that the Golden Nugget will be built to the original specifications, and not to his.
I see no reason for reporting a private conversation. Mr. Fogarty does not own me yet.
I wish you a good morning, Miss Callan.
Well, Mr. Fraser, well, I hope we may part as friends.
That is also my wish.
Please, convey my regards to your wife and your little son.
Of course. Good morning to you, Miss Callan.
Clay. 3 months and 10 days at £2.15 per month, less your allotment of 30 shillings per month. Deductions 3 days' pay for insolent behaviour. Total due £3, 9 shillings and 6 pence. Yes. Jessup, sailmaker.
Sir.
3 months and 10 days at £4.15 per month, less allotment of 40 shillings per month. Deduction, slop chest, 14 shillings and 6 pence. Fines, 3 days' pay for having on board spirituous liquor. For insolent behaviour, 1 day's pay. Swearing and using profane language, 2 days' pay. Carrying a belaying pin aloft to the danger of life, 2 days' pay. Washing clothes on Sunday, 1 day's pay. Provoking a quarrel, 1 day's pay. Total fines, 10 days' pay at 2 and 6 pence. Total sum due, £6 and 6 pence. Right, Fletcher.
Now, steamship men won't join us.
That's not important. We still outnumber them 10 to 1.
Oh, every sailor in this port has come ashore.
Right. Then we'll organise into districts and sub-districts throughout the length and breadth of the docks. The Callan and Onedin berths, they're mine, all right?
They'll bring in the strikebreakers, supported by the crushers.
Any policeman who shows his face will be thrown into the dock, alongside those who seek to protect. Now, to our demands. These are fair enough in substance. When we meet with the owners, we're going to have to be more specific. We're going to have to spell it out to them in chapter and verse.
And if they don't listen?
We'll burn their ships.
Mr. Jenkins will sell at my price, lock, stock and barrel. Yes. We'll expand, Sarah. Yes, we'll take over his premises and knock down that wall and expand.
A double-fronted shop?
Nay, more than that. Look, there's a stable in here. Well, I can turn that into a fine storeroom and warehouse. And I'll have a sign painted. It'll say, Robert Onedin, ship's chandler and provision merchants. We're on our way, Sarah. Nothing can stop us now. We're on our way.
If it's company money you're thinking of spending, Robert, think again. Seamen are on strike, you know. We bow to their demands, it costs us money. We stand fast, it costs us money.
Well, what is it that they want?
Well, not so much a question of what they want, but how little they can be persuaded to take.
Well, you're not giving to them without a fight.
Well, they must be stopped, put in prison.
Oh, there speaks a brave little woman with nothing much to lose. Have you forgotten the bread riots? When the mobs rampaged through the streets, burning and plundering every shop in sight?
I haven't.
Now, there's 10,000 seamen in this port. Only needs one loose-mouthed fool, and the docks will be ablaze from one end to the other.
No, well, what this situation needs is a cool head and clear thinking. When do you propose to meet with them?
Well, not until they've had time to tighten their belts a little. Nothing weakens a man's resolve so much as hunger, you know.
Men. What? They're all the same, loose fish, every one of them.
Have you been quarrelling with Albert?
Not yet, but I intend to. That shameless, wanton creature.
Who are you talking about?
That bejeweled Jezebel, Emma Callan. She rolls her eyes and Albert turns toward her.
Miss Callan is betrothed to Mr. Fogarty.
I have it on good authority that she received Albert at our house alone.
Gossip.
I think not.
Have you asked Albert?
He flew into a passion and accused me of harbouring unworthy suspicions.
As I have no doubt they are.
It's all very well for you to speak. You and James are a matched pair, and anyone less likely to kick over the traces than James I cannot imagine. But Albert has always been susceptible to the blandishments of painted harpies like that creature.
So his notion of security was to make a parcel of the Onedin Line and deliver it straight into the hands of Fogarty.
What do you have to say to that, Chandler?
I do not have to justify myself.
You do.
You sold us out for 1,500 shares.
Explain, Robert.
Look, Albert could never have won the election to the being chairman of the company with my support or without it.
Ah, rubbish. I would have won hands down.
I am sorry, Albert, but that was not my opinion. James, yes, you know.
We could at least have made a fight for it.
Look, under the circumstances, it was my duty to make the best deal that I could.
For yourself.
Look, I was offered Callan shares, which are at least paying a dividend. But no, I insisted upon our own shares, which, as far as I can see, as yet pay not 1 penny.
But do have a market value.
1,500 shares. You were well paid for your bit of chicanery. From now on, your proxy's with us. Now, you remember that.
All right.
And he might not have made such a bad bargain after all.
A paper bargain. With Fogarty in the chair, the golden nugget will never be built.
No, it's more than paper. Miss Callan held 48,000 shares. She parted with 1,500 to Robert. That leaves her 46.5. We held 45,000.
And now with my 1,500 shares, we also now have 46,500.
So we are even.
But with Fogarty in command.
Well, we must give Fogarty something else to think about.
Such as?
Well, I think it's time we met with the strike leaders, eh?
No more credit. You know perfectly well, Mrs. Jessup, that with your husband out on strike for more than 2 weeks now, there'll be no more money coming in. The sooner your husband comes to his senses and leads those poor, misguided men back to honest work, the better it'll be for all. Now, that's my last word.
Children may starve so that the Onedins can make a profit at both ends. That's the last you'll see of my custom. Good day to you, Mrs. Onedin.
Some people simply do not know the meaning of the word gratitude. Now, what can I do for you, Anne?
Well, I'll start with 6 pounds of flour, 2 pounds of lard, 3 shillings worth of Hamburg beef, and 2 large airtights of boiled mutton.
The demands are outrageous. No ship owner in the land could possibly agree to such terms.
Well, not a ship will move until you do.
We have been patient thus far, hoping that common sense would prevail.
Patient? You haven't been patient. You've simply waited until your ships have been discharged and loaded. Now they're ready to sail, you imagine you can bring matters to a head by a direct challenge to our authority. Well, you are mistaken, Mr. Fogarty, mistaken. You're not dealing with a mindless mob now. We are disciplined and we are organised. There's been no rioting, no pillaging, no damage. Your ships are safe and they will remain safe. Unless...
Unless what, Jessup?
Unless you force our hand.
I'll not give in to wild threats, Jessup.
There's nothing wild about him, mister.
I can find crews fast enough. This town is overflowing with able-bodied men, eager and willing to ship aboard any scow that floats.
Scab and blackleg labour, protected by the police and the militia. Well, you try it, Mr. Fogarty, you try it. And the consequences will be on your own head.
Now, threats will get you nowhere, Jessup. Now, we must discuss this matter, eh?
Discuss? There's nothing to discuss. I reject these so-called proposals in their entirety.
In that case, Mr. Fogarty, you appear to be wasting both Mr. Jessup's and my time.
They're demanding £5 a month, double their present wages. Oh, well, if you're prepared to bankrupt yourself, Onedin, I'm not. Cullen & Company has 26 ships. Do you realise what that would cost her to make such a claim?
9 of your ships are tied up in port and 3 more. 3 more waiting for berths. Now you cost that out, Mr. Fogarty.
I know you have, old Jessup. You're a troublemaker. Now I'll break this strike, and you with it.
Gentlemen, I have counted the cost, and I think we should postpone this meeting until later. Till both parties have had time to reconsider their position.
No further, Onedin.
I'm going aboard my ship.
Have you agreed to our terms?
No.
Are you prepared to discuss them?
No.
Then you and your ship stay put. That's your peril, Onedin. At your peril.
James, I think we should give way a little. Well, throw him a sop.
And what do you have in mind?
Well, provisions. A proper dietary scale is long overdue.
Yes, there speaks the true Chandler. Philanthropy on the one hand and cash on the other. Oh, look, where's Anne? I want my dinner.
Oh, she's away down at the shop again. The way she's been buying in stuff lately, anybody thinks she's laying up for a siege.
You won.
Look who's here.
Mr. Jessup, a word with you.
You owe us 8p a day
Fletcher, Fletcher. As many words as you like, Mr. Onedin. Provided we agreed on the subject matter.
Well, I have 2 ships ready for sea. Captain Baines here will take out the Star of Bethlehem, and I shall be in command of the Charlotte Rhodes.
Will you now? Well, agree to our terms and you can take them out tomorrow. Don't. And they stay alongside.
Do you agree to our terms or not?
Well, now, I have some counter-proposals.
Then keep them in your pocket.
Oh, don't be a fool, Jessup. You must know no owner's prepared to accept all your terms, but some individual owners might be prepared to take this or that part of your proposals.
And which part or parts do you have in mind?
Well, now, I say from now on, any ship sailing under the Onedin flag will feed full and plenty.
Words. Words. You spell it out, Onedin.
It's all here. £1.50 of meat a day, fresh when available, substitutes as stated here and there.
8p a day for short rations?
It's all there, written down.
I can't read.
Oh, well, Jessup can.
Aye. Aye, it's here. What else?
Well, now, you ask for a 96-hour week. Thereafter, overtime at 4p an hour. I'll offer you a 100-hour week with 2p an hour thereafter, unless, of course, the safety of the ship is at stake.
Safety of the ship.
There's a loophole for a master to drive through.
100 hours. No. No, we're not slaving day and night in port, cleaning out holes at 2p a time. 2p at sea, 4p in port.
4p then, if required.
Aye. There's plenty of cheap labour abroad.
What else?
£5 a month is our going price.
Yeah, but he's going to pay you £5 a month. Take that out of your head.
What's your offer, then?
Well, I'll give you an increase of 5 shillings a month, not a penny more.
£3 a month, guaranteed minimum wage. That's overtime. All right. I'll put your proposals before the council.
Oh, just another thing. If I agree to your terms, you must agree to mine.
Terms?
Well, if I'm the only owner to strike a bargain, I must have some advantages.
You can rest assured, Mr. Onedin, that no Callan ship will move unless Mr. Fogarty matches your conditions.
Yes, well, that's all I wanted to know.
You have our word on it.
Oh, good. Well, good day then, gentlemen. Captain Baines. Come with me. I want you clear for Philadelphia tomorrow.
Philadelphia?
Yes, nice fat Callan cargo, ripe for the picking, eh? Come on.
I have to report that a further meeting with the representatives of the owners has met with an obstinate refusal to meet with the basis of our demand. There is one exception, however. The Onedin Line has gone a long way to meet those demands. Your council have therefore agreed that any ship sailing under the Onedin flag be allowed to sail. Blacklegs! Fogarty, you damn fool!
Mr. Baines. It's all over.
Sarah? Sarah?
Blundering idiot Fogarty.
Is it all over now?
Aye. Fogarty and his bully boys have broken the strike. Now we can start counting the cost. Burnt one of his ships right down to the waterline. Wrecked his dock office, then set fire to 3 warehouses. And the mobs used that as an excuse to go right through the town, wrecking everything.
And Mr. Jessup?
Arrested with the other members of his so-called council.
What will happen to them?
Oh, no doubt they'll stew in prison for a while.
But that's monstrous.
No doubt, but it is the law. What's that you're doing?
Provisions.
What for?
Your quarrel's been with the seamen, not with their wives and children.
You mean to say that I've been supporting strikers out of my own pocket?
No, James, out of my pocket. And not strikers, but their unfortunate families.
It comes to the same thing. May I remind you, Anne, that every penny that you possess comes from my purse, not yours.
The money's from my housekeeping. You've not suffered.
Housekeeping is not wages. A wife doesn't have property.
I am no chattel, James. Neither you nor anyone else will deny me the right to spend my own money in any way that I choose.
You do not hold title to money. Her husband foots the bills. I mean, housekeeping might be the wife's province, but the money that she receives for it is at her husband's forbearance. Where the devil do you think you're going with that?
To Mrs. Jessup. As her husband's in prison, she cannot rely upon his forbearance.
Anne, you leave this house against my express wishes, and you needn't bother to come back. I mean what I say.
Yes, James. I see that you do.